To create a presentation in Google Docs, or same thing as a PowerPoint, I'm here in my inbox and I'm going to come up here to Documents, click that, over here to Create New, pull that down, select New Presentation. Now it's going to open a new presentation for me. Now the first thing you want to do is save it out. So I'm going to come up here to the title where it says Untitled Presentation, click there and type in the title I want. I'm going to make one on the X-planes, the series of planes that broke the sound barrier. Alright, now generally speaking, in a presentation you want some kind of a background on your slides to give them a little more life. So there's two kind of things you can do. You can either use a color or an image. So here I'm going to go to the Format menu, come down to Presentation Settings, over to Change Background. To do a color, you just click here on the Paint Bucket tool, pull that down, pick the color you want, do Save, there's your background color. Now if you want to use an image, same process, Format, Presentation Settings, Change Background, only this time click on Insert Image, and I've already got an image saved up on my desktop, so I'm going to do Browse, find the image I've got saved up, open, save. Alright, so there's my background image. Now this initial slide that opens up is the title slide, and you can click in the text box that's there and put in the title you want. And notice that here is a row of your standard word processing tools, so I could highlight this and make it bigger. Okay, once you're in the text box here, notice if you put the cursor toward the edge, it turns into the little hand, so you can move things around and get your title set up the way you want. Alright, I've got my first slide finished, so I'm ready to start a second one. So come up here to the Slide menu, do New Slide. It'll give you choices here. Now, I always like to just use a blank slide, but you've got these other ones that are already divided up into areas. But I'm just going to use the blank. Alright, it's going to copy my background. Once again, you could go in and change that background if you like, but I'm just going to leave it there. Alright, I want to put an image on this, so I'm going to come up here and do Insert, Image. It's going to say browse your computer for the file to upload. You can also go to a web page, figure out what the URL for a particular image is, and put that in. So it doesn't actually store the image, it just goes to some website, pulls it off there. But I think you're better off to use images stored on your computer and upload them. So I'm going to click Browse, find the image I'm looking for, and do OK. Okay, so there's my image. Now once again, I've got if I put my cursor on it, it uses the hand, and I can move it around. I can go to the corners and change the size, etc. Alright, so I put my image on. Then I want to put some text to describe it, so I'll come up here to the text tool, the little T. It'll put on a text box, and I could put in my information. Right, I've got my information text box all set up where I want it. But notice that one problem with having an image as a background is that it's often hard to see the text. If you use a background image that has both light and dark colors, light colors don't show in the light areas, dark colors don't show in the dark areas. So sometimes it's nice to back up your text with a block of color, or just a plain color, that way it's easier to see. So I'm going to come up here to the Insert menu and do Insert Shape, and just pick a rectangle here. I'm going to put one on there. I'm going to move it around and get it to cover my text, And then I'm going to go up here to Format, Order, and I can change the order. Anything that's put on the slide is like in layers. So right now this rectangle I put on is in a layer above the text. So I'm going to do send backwards, so it'll move it back one layer, so it goes back behind the text. So the text is on top of it. I'm going to leave the rectangle highlighted, come up here to the paint bucket, pick a color for it, and now I have my text over the top of a solid color. Makes it much easier to see. Now, in a presentation, you often want to have a list of information, and you want the bullets here to appear as you speak about them to reinforce your points. Not a real good way to do that with Google presentation, but here's a little trick. I've created this slide about Chuck Yeager. I want to talk about these 3 points. So I'm just going to leave this and do slide, duplicate slide, and then do it one more time. So I've got 3 copies of that slide in my presentation. All right, I'm going to go to the second one here and delete off this last thing in my list. Go to this first one and delete off the first 2 things in my list. All right. So now as I go through my slides in my presentation, I'll see this one, can speak about that he was a test pilot. Then it'll go to this one, speak about how he's a World War II fighter ace. Then go to this one, show how he was the X-1 pilot in 1953. So I get the progression of information, but I have to do it in kind of this little tricky way. Now to view your presentation, you can come up here to Start Presentation and click that. Okay, your presentation opens up in full screen mode, and you can come down here. You'll see 2 little arrows, and you click on the right arrow and it goes forward a slide. So you go through your presentation, giving the information, and run your presentation. Now you can also go back just like you normally would in any PowerPoint. Once you have your presentation done, you'll want to be able to share it with other people so they can see it. So you need to go up here to the Share menu, pull down the little arrow, and go down to Publish Embed. Okay. Before you can share it, you first need to publish it. So check Publish Document. And this window will come open. Now, up here at the top will be a URL that links to your presentation. So one thing you can do is just copy that and paste it into another document, or you could even I'm going to just copy it, and I'm going to open a new tab, paste it into the URL box, hit returned. There's my presentation. Now I'm going to go ahead and bookmark this page, and that way I can go back to that bookmark and have the URL that I can copy and paste in an email, something like that. There's some other things that you can do by embedding it into a web document or something like that, but that's kind of a more advanced thing. You should be able to share it with this method easily.